Great. Thank you, Valeria. I will try to do the very nice introduction. Welcome. So as Valeria said, my name is Philipp Leitner. I have actually known about this conference since a long time. I think I have already known about this during my PhD. But it's actually the first time I'm here, so I'm very excited to see how the conference actually runs. And my thought was, since this is, sorry, just let me start the timer so that I don't run famously over time, because I've been known to do that occasionally. So since I'm giving kind of the first keynote of this conference, I thought I'm going to try to do something a little bit different. So rather than talking a lot about my own work, I will try to take you a little bit on a trip through history, a trip through the history of remoting systems and distributed objects. And my hope is that we can kind of, talk a little bit about the past and talk a little bit about the journey that actually led us all the way to microservices. And my hope is for the younger people in the room, maybe this is instructive. For the older people, at least you can shout at me when you have a different recollection of how things went. Because really this is going to be a little bit my personal history. Like a lot of that isn't going to be necessarily like super objective. I will give you a little bit a candid view of how I have seen different milestones kind of on our journey to microservices and beyond. So as Valeria said, I'm currently an associate professor in Sweden at Chalmers. I lead one of the two software engineering groups. We have a software engineering research area that's large enough that it actually breaks into two kind of organizational units. I lead one of them. And before that, I was a postdoc in Zurich and a PhD student in the distributed systems group in Vienna. So my personal history is also a little bit that I kind of did a PhD really on this topic in services computing, kind of in the middle of the service-oriented architecture hype. And then after my PhD, I kind of moved more towards software engineering, and you could call it a little bit software architecture, but more the, not what do service interfaces look like, but more, how do we actually build the stuff that runs behind the interface. So that's also coloring a little bit some of the things I will talk about. This is my team. Every now and then I will sprinkle in a little bit of our own research, but most of the time that talk will not really be about that. Okay, so before we get started with that, I want to jump a little bit to the end and really to what has motivated this, this talk. Because I think it was 2 years ago, one of my PhD students came back, and I think he came back from closer. I'm not entirely sure anymore, but he came back